Welcome back to Check This Out. I'm your host, Keith Perrin. I'm holding it down for this week, aka Mr. Kizo on Kizo's Corner. We got the talented Dick Wingate in the building tonight. How you doing, Dick?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show, Keith.
I know it's been a long night. You've been very, very kind.
It's good to be in the chair.
Finally getting in the chair, right? Thank you for waiting. So let's get right into it, man, because I know you got to get out of here. AI is transforming the music industry, changing how music is created, produced, and consumed. There is a debate about whether AI enhances human creativity or replaces human musicians. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, you went right for the jugular there. Well, first of all, some context. Yes, AI is disrupting the music business in a way we haven't seen in 25 years. Mm-hmm. And I was there right in the middle of it 25 years ago when Napster became all the rage.
Yeah,
and the fear was palpable in the music industry. At first it was, it's just a fad and this internet thing's gonna go away. Mm-hmm. And then the reality started to hit home. And similarly now, the AI has suddenly, it's like a dam has burst. Mm-hmm. In terms of what you can do with AI. It's been around for a long time in various forms. When you talk to Siri or even there, a company, I'll mention a company, Boomi, has been, allowing people to go in and create AI-generated tracks. Mm-hmm. What has changed is that the new AI music generators have been trained on the entire history of music that's out there on the internet. Mm-hmm. And they've not felt like, these are big companies, and they've not felt like they needed to get licenses mm-hmm. from the rights holders.
Yeah.
So that's the background, okay? And we can talk more about that. But as far as creativity, we're seeing new AIs coming out all the time. Suno.ai came out only in the last couple of months. Mm-hmm. And they just raised $125 million on a $500 million valuation. We can talk about that too, and what that means. But already there's, 100,000 users, mm-hmm. and there's 10 million users that are uploading like 100,000 tracks a day.
Wow.
And it's so easy. All you have to do is put in a prompt. Mm-hmm. It could be a phrase, it could be an idea, mm-hmm. and maybe a genre, and then it will start in a very short period of time. It'll generate a piece of music, words and music, mm-hmm. and it'll be good production value.
Wow.
So what does that mean in terms of the creative process? Is that the end game? Or, for many people, that may be as far as they're going to go. Mm-hmm. They'll experiment with it. But for professional musicians, writers, and such, it may be a way to kind of grease the wheels a little bit, mm-hmm. help them with their ideas, mm-hmm. Which they can then supplement. I see it as a supplemental for most professional musicians. In the same way that when synthesizers first came out,
remember that?
it was, at first it was like, oh my God, it's
It's killing music.
it's
I
going to
remember
kill,
everything that surrounded that, too.
keyboard players won't be able to ever get a gig again, and but eventually it becomes part of the culture.
Yeah.
Drum machines even more.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Drum machines, and listen, there are a lot of songs that you hear on the radio that don't have a live drummer. That's just the reality. The world changes, creative process changes.
Wow. I was talking to Vinny earlier, and he was mentioning that, I think I asked him, will AI replace humans? And his response was, humans will always be here. The live interaction when people want to see somebody dancing across the stage or in person will always be a thing.
Yeah.
But when you listen to some people who are not too familiar with AI, they go, AI is taking over the world. It's going to take my job. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. Now, will it take some jobs? I think it can
Yes,
replace
absolutely.
a lot of jobs, because you don't need a physical person there to do certain things. But you still need that human interaction.
You also need human ideas.
Yeah.
And so this is at the understand that AI can only spit back some version of what's already been published. Mm-hmm. What's been learned, these large language models as LLMs, if now you'll know what that term means. Mm-hmm. They've been trained on music that's already been published. Mm-hmm. They're not going to come up. It's not going to come up with a brand new idea. That's still a human thing.
Yeah. So it still has to search for that human idea to create what it needs to create.
Right.
And that can't be programmed. Well, it's still from a human, right?
Unless they're going to wire my brain, but there's so many different parts of this conversation about what is it good for? Who needs it, right? Okay, let's go there for a second. What's the demand for AI music? Well, I can think of about 4 or 5 things. One, people that are creators who just want background music for their whatever it is, their TikTok or their YouTube or whatever. They don't want to license any music. They just want some music, right? Then you could go to what typically has been handled by production music libraries, which are used by a lot of ad agencies and advertisers, and music supervisors for film and television who don't have big budgets. They're not going to be able to license, $50,000 syncs, but they might just need, they can say, okay, I need something for this heavy romantic moment on the street in New York. Just plug in the scene verbally, because now you can do it by voice, not just by typing with Chat GPT 4.0 allows you to do it verbally.
My business partner was telling me about that yesterday. I was talking about writing a book, and he said, well, just talk to the Chat GPT and write the book. I said, but will it write how I talk, or how will it clean it up? Or he's like, no, 4.0 will search the internet, find who you are, you put your name in there, and it will talk exactly or write exactly how you're talking it. So I was like, wow, this thing's getting crazy.
So and other uses of other demands for AI music would include gaming developers. The beats marketplaces, anything that's sort of any place where they want music without a license, there's demand. And there's a lot of music that's on Spotify and other services right now that is just, it may not be AI, but it might as well be, sleep music. you know, that kind of stuff. There's
Right.
a lot of that stuff.
Man, it's crazy. We were talking earlier before we got into the interview, and you were kind of telling us how you started, which I think is amazing because, you know, in today's world, everything needs a dollar attached to it, or you know, if they can't see it, they don't do it. You know, and sometimes you have to do things that you can't see at that particular moment because you never know where it will take you. And you had mentioned, you know, you got your start in radio and you worked 25 hours a week and there was no pay, no credits, no, you know, but you did it. But it turned into a great career in music for you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit
and
about
I'm,
that.
oh, geez. Well, yeah, I started as the DJ, music director, and program director of the Brown University radio station, WBRU, in Providence, Rhode Island, which at the time was literally the number one FM station in Rhode Island. And we got a lot of attention from the record companies because we had such an impact on the market. And so that was my introduction into the record industry. And I worked as a product manager for artists like Bruce Springsteen and Peter Tosh of the Wailers and Pink Floyd and others. And then I moved into A&R and signed and executive or co-produced albums. Had some big hits. You might know Walking on Sunshine or Electric Avenue
Oh yeah,
from
yeah.
Eddie Grant. And
I know that. I know those. You know, I'm a senior citizen. I know I might not look like one, but you know, been around here long. And I crack people up when I say that. They be like, "How old are you?" I'm like, "I'm going on 54." So it's not, you know.
well,
Once you pass 50, everything is downhill. I wake up every day, my arm is hurting, my leg, my hip. I'm like, Jesus, what's going on? But yeah,
let me tell you, it doesn't get better. Okay. But you know, I was actually senior executive at one of the major labels at Arista Records in the mid '90s when I went online the first time, and it was so obvious to me that the future of the music business was going to be online. Even at that time, when it was like the worst dial-up connection, we knew that it would get better in terms of connectivity, and that if you could listen to music in front of your computer at home, that the sky was the limit. And so I was probably the first major label executive to walk away from a big job and moved to a music tech company, and that company was called Liquid Audio, and we were the first digital music distributor of consequence with licenses that I negotiated with every one of the major labels, and we were in the market many years before iTunes. We had 60 retailers that were selling digital music. It's now kind of a distant memory, but
yeah, we were talking about that too. Is like, you know, CDs. You know, artists getting in the game. If you're gonna get in the game for money, don't do it because it's such a hard game, and it's way more artists now than it was, you know, when previously in the '90s or early '80s, and so you have to really get into this game for the love of it because they don't have those money making things like they had before. Like you can take a CD, physically take a CD and sell it and make money, or an album and make money. Now everything is digitized, is online, and you know, so you have to worry about a stream and how much you get from that stream and how many streams you get. And all
well,
that.
that's actually a good jumping off point because one of the big fears of the traditional music industry is that the pool of music that will be on Spotify and Apple Music and SoundCloud and everything else will be so jacked up and so dramatically bigger, full of AI music, that there's less, therefore less royalties for the artists that are coming out through through the major record labels. And why is that? Because the way that royalties are computed today, and there's a lot of people that want to change this, they're not artist-centric, they're not user-centric royalties. Everyone's play, all the plays from all the 100 million users on Spotify, for instance, are pooled. Mm-hmm. And so, for instance, if you listen to Drake, mm-hmm. and only Drake, that's just it just goes into the pool, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to a user-centric model, where if you listen to Drake for all month long, then the royalty pool for you, the royalty pool that you generate would go to Drake. That's a user-centric royalty model as opposed to the overall pool. So the labels are struggling with the models and trying to figure out and work with the DSPs on what's a fair model going forward when there's going to be millions and millions, already are, millions and millions of songs coming on that no one listens to, okay? Roughly 20, there's roughly 20 or 25 million tracks on Spotify that didn't get a single play last year. Okay, so that's all, that number is just gonna
get bigger.
Like the only person who will listen to it is the person who created it.
Wow.
Right, but it waters down the pool.
That's interesting you say that, because I know a lot of artists are complaining about their royalties now from streaming.
Right.
And if you're saying you have the user and what was the other one?
Well,
generated pool or something like that, or pool
yeah,
generated?
well, it's a general, royalty pool.
Yeah, general royalty
it's one pool for every play goes into this giant bucket.
Yeah, man, that's deep, because where's that going to lead the music industry? Like, are you going to have artists creating their own streams?
That's a very good point. There will be more of that. There'll be artist-centric subscriptions.
Yeah.
And
because it has to go somewhere.
But also, it's also reflective of, we're moving away from mass audience consumption mm-hmm. to niche. It's more and more a niche world in terms mm-hmm. of consumption. Some of the most niche shows on Netflix, for instance, blow up. Mm-hmm. They're not even highly promoted, but they get it develops a really a really big audience. Same with and there are artists on music services that have hundreds of millions of plays that the average person on the street does not know, but they have a dedicated
fan base,
niche fan base, and monetizing fandom is a big talking point for the music industry going forward. How can we monetize the biggest fans, or a lot of in the marketing and advertising world they call them the whales, right? There's the whales and the minnows, right? How do we monetize better than, because right now you could be the biggest fan and the biggest user of Spotify or Apple Music, and you pay the same thing as the guy that only goes on once in a while, right? But you would pay more. And roughly 20, I forgot which report came out, one of the big brokerage houses mm-hmm. just put out a report that said 20% of subscription music users that are paying for a subscription, not the free users, would pay more if it had more benefits. Mm-hmm. So we're going to end up with at least a third tier besides the free and the paid. There may be multiple tiers that allow you or that enable you to access more from the artists, or directly from the artists.
I wonder if it's gonna, because It's funny you said that because my wife and I we were watching TV the other day. So we have Prime, we have Netflix, we have Max, we have
I know
Hulu.
it's just like cable all over.
And it's like, okay, I'm paying for cable, right? An enormous amount of money from cable, and there's nothing on cable.
No, you got to cut the cord, man.
Huh?
Cut the cord. What do you need the cable for? Get YouTube TV. You get all the channels pretty much. And
yeah, I was telling her, I was like, we have all of these platforms, and we turn on Hulu the other day. It's a great movie on there. We're like, wow, this is great. Like, okay, so it's like 6 episodes. All right, let's go. We get on the couch and we're sitting there, we're watching it. 2 episodes in, let's go pay for subscription. And I'm like, I'm already paying. I have to pay another subscription inside of the app that I've already paid for monthly.
Why?
I don't know, but I'm thinking that it will be the same way with music soon, where you'll have certain music you can listen to for free, then you can listen to more music paid, and then if you want to hear the popular music, you have to pay another fee.
No, I don't think it'll be just the popular.
Well, not popular, but, just
it'll be
different
like
tiers.
Exclusives or whatever. It'll have to have something other than
You
just.
can't listen to it when it first come out. You got to wait 6 months or something. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah,
it's just getting to a point where And I was telling the other night, I said we have to sit down and like total these up because we're paying a lot of money for all of these channels to not be able to see anything. Like,
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, back to AI. The other thing that is already muddy is voice. And
that's my next question.
What's that? Yeah, I figured you were going to get to that. So about the Drake weekend track that launched 1,000 ships, right? All of a sudden, that's when the reality hit home that, hey, you can,
kill somebody's image.
There are applications. I'm not even talking about image. I'm talking about voice.
Mm-hmm.
There are applications out there right now where you can sing into it, and then say, "I want it to sound like Drake."
Oh wow!
Or I want it to in the style of Drake, right? So you may have read recently about. I think it was OpenAI, when they launched the 4.0,
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to use the voice of what's the actress's name? She was the voice of she played an AI in a movie, Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
She played an AI. Her voice was in a movie called Her, which came out a few years ago, where she wasn't actually in the movie. She was an artificial intelligence, and they asked her to do a promo for Chat GPT 4.0, and she declined. And so they just created one that sounded just like her.
Yeah.
And so these are huge rights issues.
Yeah.
And it's training on the music, training on voices, all these things. There is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, or should I say, that's not the right term. Some good news in that ChatGPT has recently announced licensing deals with some big media companies like News Corp and Vox and The Atlantic, which compensates them for the use of their material in the ChatGPT results. That's what the record industry is arguing. They need to be compensated for these music AI generators for all of these things being trained on their recordings and compositions in the case of the music publishers.
Yeah,
and they're going to go to the wall. In fact, Sony already last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, sent out 700 letters to companies that may or may not be using their music for their AI, basically letters of notice that they're not licensed.
Yeah.
So that's could be a precursor to cease and desists if they don't come to the table.
See, I used to want to be a musician back in the day. I'm sorry, a rapper, not a musician. I used to want to be a rapper, and I was mad that I just didn't know how to rap. I couldn't rap, right? And then I see these guys blowing up and getting all this money, and then, I start doing my thing, and I kind of made my own path. But I always said, man, I wish I could rap. I would love to be a rapper, right? Not so much anymore, because I talk to some of my friends and I see what they're going through and the challenges that they're facing, with any artist and not just rappers. But this AI is if somebody need to get a hold of it ASAP, because if they don't, how would you make money?
Well, there's a lot of challenges for musicians, not just the tech, but just the fact that you really have to start your career yourself. That's how the data is what's causing most of the big deals to get signed. It's like who's in the days when I was making records, the artist just came with a great set of songs and a great performance, and we developed them from the ground up.
Yeah.
Now the big labels, they want it developed already. They want a user base. They want the data. Bring us the data.
And I think that's one of the real reasons behind the fake data that everybody's buying, the followers and the likes and the comments and everything. And it's just sad, because I just had a conversation about it the other day. I don't really care too much about followers and who's following me and who I'm following and everything. If I have a friend or business person that I follow, cool. But I don't get too wrapped up into the numbers, right? So somebody told me one day and says, "Oh, you only got," this is years ago, "only got 5,000 followers? Oh, you're a FUBU. You should have way more." And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm not even on here like that. Like, but now I see how many people are buying followers, and then you get jobs now or positions from how many followers you have, and half of them are fake.
Yes.
Half of them are fake.
They're,
Like these,
they're,
I looked at somebody's page today. They had somebody messaged me. They had 30,000 followers. They had 2 and 4 likes on every picture, and I'm like, what is this? But I just hate the fact that people don't look at real talent. They look at numbers now.
Yes,
just to see
that pains me.
Yeah,
it pains you. I mean,
yeah, I just you're throwing away something that can be very valuable because they don't have a high social media account, because I guess to you they're not tapped in, right? But then you have a person who has 50,000 followers and has 50 likes on their page. Are they tapped in?
The reality is that not every artist is a good marketer.
Yeah.
Not every artist is cut out to be posting all the time. And when you think about some of the great artists that you probably grew up listening to, a lot of what was great about them was that you didn't know that much.
Yeah.
That there was a mystique. And so when they came out with a new record, it was like, what's he got to say? Who is he? You studied the album cover, and I know I sound like grandpa here, but today those artists they're just focused on making music, whether it's writing it or recording it, and they don't necessarily feel like socializing their life day in and day out.
That's how I feel. I just...
And they're feeling the pressure to do that, and that I hear this a lot from artists. There was who was the artist? Very well-known artist has had hits. I've trying to remember where her label basically was, you have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even put out a song until you do like a 4-week social media campaign. And she's like, I don't want to do that. That's not me.
Yeah.
You know,
Some people are private, you know, they don't, like, I know I'm private, and I come from a time where you kind of, if you got something going on, you just work on it, and then when it comes out, it comes out. Like, you didn't have to tell everybody every step of the way. Oh, I'm here now. Now I'm here now, and then next week it's gonna launch.
Yeah.
You know. It's
Yeah. Well, that's general music business. You know, that's changed, not likely to change back. But
Wow.
you know what we're the changes that AI will that are being created by AI is they're going to be things we don't know. There's new opportunities that are based around fandom and discovery and creation and artistry itself, and we don't know where it's going to go. Right now, it's a little scary.
It's a lot scary, but listen, man. Thank you for the wonderful insight into, you know, what you do and this AI situation, because, you know, we're gonna come back full circle in a couple of years, and we're gonna have another conversation.
Oh, I imagine there'll be a lot of developments over the next couple
we'll
of
see
years,
where it
and
goes.
you know, there'll probably be you know, AI stars. They already have them in Asia. They've actually got AI.
Age is always like 10,
Right.
10 years before
Right.
us. You know? Listen, tell everybody where they can find you, and if you have anything else that you want to share with us, please let us
No,
know.
Keith, thank you for having me on. I'm Dick Wingate. My website is devadvisors.com, ORS, devadvisors.com. You'll see a lot about the crazy shit I've done, and lots of pictures with a lot of artists you'll recognize.
All right, man. Listen, this is another interview. Check this out. Tech Week. Host Keith Perrin with the talented Dick Wingate. Thank you
man.
again, Dick.
Appreciate
you,
it.
Dick. Peace.